My name's Pam Carter, and most people know me as the bishop's wife. I am a member of this conference, and I'm an honorably located clergy. Served in various capacities in the conference, but when my husband was elected, I just tried to do all the good in all the ways I could wherever he was sent. And that kind of led me to Haiti in some ways, because when he was assigned to be senior pastor at Providence, and I think that was 2002.
I
think that's right.
Like that.
Within a week, the very first day he was in his office, a couple by the name of Bill and Alice White came to his office and said, "You have to go to Haiti. We have this mission there. The work is so important. We need the support of the pastor." Long story short, he went, and I'm not sure when he went, but he came back and he said, "Pam, you have to go to Haiti. You'll be amazed," et cetera, et cetera. And Bill and Alice had given their life to develop ministry there. They had tried a lot of different things, but ended up supporting a clinic attached to a Methodist church. The Methodist Church in Haiti is British Methodist Church origin, so there's a relation. It is the Methodist Church of Haiti now, but its beginnings were begun by the British Methodists. So they connected with the different persons that were part of the church there. Alice felt like there was a real need for health care, and she was right. Bill was an engineer, I believe, so he built churches, he built clinics, he dug wells, something you'll hear more about that's still ongoing. But eventually they settled on supporting this one clinic in a little town called Grise-en-Garde that was attached to the Tovar Methodist Church. And Alice went back to school. I can't remember exactly how old she was, but I think her children were grown. She went back to study to become a nurse so that she could do this work. And she began, as she became licensed and capable and had actually done a practical form of her nurse's training in Haiti, she began to form teams of U.S. physicians to take to this clinic. Those teams continue today. Recently, it's been harder to work through the political situation to send them. But generally, they go 4 times a year on a quarterly basis so they can track patients with chronic diseases or problems. But anyway, Alice put these teams together, and they would use non-medical people like myself or my husband to help weigh people and take their blood pressure and take vital information before they saw the physician. I went in 2006 as I call them flunkies, non-medical flunkies, because I didn't even know how to take a blood pressure, but they show you and train you. And I went in October of 2006, I believe, and absolutely life-changing experience. I had never known where Haiti was. I had no reason, no connection, but just truly amazed at what Alice and Bill had done through the years, and came back very determined to try to support that work within the church at Providence. I think I met Dr. Eugene on that first trip. I'm not certain. He came to work at the clinic because the the medical powers that be wanted them to focus on one clinic and have an ongoing presence for, patients that would come in that couldn't get there on the 1 week every 3 or 4 months, right? You might get sick between when these teams came. So they began to search for a physician that could serve in the clinic at least 1 day a week. And there was a couple in the church that helped financially to make that possible, to pay his salary. Wow. And I'll be forever grateful to them. And I don't know if we want to mention their names, but just super people. So they paid his salary and did up until his death. Met him, Dr. Eugene, I don't know, maybe he was about 5, 6, 7.
Probably 5'7".
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a real tall guy, but just a bundle of energy. Now, let me just say October in Haiti is miserably hot. And I don't mean just a little hot. I mean, I would take the weight of a child and be bending over the file to write it down, and sweat would drip on what I was writing.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it was just unbearable hot. And Dr. Eugene would be in a shirt with long sleeves, a tie, and a lab coat. Haitians are very dignified people. They don't slouch when they go to church. There's no casual for church. They're very dignified and
Interesting.
presenting themselves professionally, especially a physician or somebody educated, a person in a school. It's important. And he presented himself that way. He was
That's not the personification you get on the news.
right.
I don't care what news it is.
Exactly.
That's not.
No, it's very,
That's
you know,
interesting.
people come back and they say they couldn't believe how parents would dress their children to come see the doctor in their best dresses. So Dr. Eugene presented himself that way. He was very charming, always very smiling and affable. One wonderful thing he had going for him in terms of us connecting was he spoke wonderful English. He could understand and interpret for you, and it made connecting easy. So that was wonderful. He was also very good at connecting you to people in the community you might be able to help in some other way. So along the way, we worked with education projects. Even though his focus was on healthcare, he was always willing to branch out when you had an idea. So along the way, we had this idea that since Charlotte is the city of banking, and we had recently read Muhammad Yunus' book, Banker to the Poor, could we, with the skills that our church community had, begin microcredit loans? And I'll let Wanda talk more about that. He was instrumental in making that happen, which meant it wasn't a medical endeavor, but he was willing to give time to it.
Well, that's great. Hey, that might be a good segue to you then. Wanda, well, you first introduce yourself, and then your first introduction to Dr. Eugene and where it took you. I'd like to hear more about the microloans. I know there's a couple of, or at least there used to be a couple of companies that would do those for him, but I guess y'all did your own. Go ahead.
did.
Wanda. Yeah.
I'm Wanda Musgrave. I'm a member of this conference and a member of Providence United Methodist Church. My relationship and why I'm here today is in 2016, my husband and I started a nonprofit, North Carolina 501c3. It's called Partners for New Hope. And through that nonprofit, we continued to support Dr. Eugene's work at the hospital. But we also have a group of partners all over the country that form what we call the Haitian Ministry Center, which is we do education projects, we do microcredit finance management. We are now taking over the building of wells, feeding programs, and a lot of the things that Dr. Eugene led. I have a young man that works for me in Haiti. His name's Wendy Preval, and he is our partner on the ground now. He was educated at Atlas Corps in New York, which is a leading nonprofit school. But Wendy's, just like Dr. Eugene, Wendy is a dedicated young Haitian man to his country. He and Dr. Eugene were very good friends, and we actually hired Wendy to be Dr. Eugene's help when he was building the hospital. And we realized that when we would go to Haiti, when I met Dr. Eugene in 2011, I was amazed. I mean, he picked us up at the airport. He made our hotel reservations. He found us places to eat. He found us drivers. He was with us every second. We would go for a week. He was with us every second of the time. And I thought, when does he work?
Yeah.
You know,
When you go to sleep.
And
you
he
go,
did that in addition to doing all this.
Gosh.
And that was part of what precipitated the Cap Haitian Ministry Center. Is we sat down with him one day when he started building the hospital and said, this is too much. You can't do that. So we had this, Mary Lou Cagle and Pam and I had this brilliant idea that we would contact everybody that we knew that worked in in northern Haiti and ask them to be a part of a partnership that would form the Cap Haitian Ministry Center. And through that ministry center, we would receive help on our trip planning with our securing our drivers, securing security people for us, getting us to and from the airport, finding us hotels. Because guess who did all that before? From this end,
Yeah.
I'm the detail person.
Yeah.
So together we would have to do all that from here. And it was very hard because we're not Haitian, and
Yeah.
That's right.
and we didn't know who the reliable people were.
Sure.
So that's where Wendy came in and where the partnership grew. To be a member of this partnership, you got all that. You were going to Haiti, you just called Wendy.
Fantastic.
He set it all up. He met you at the airport, along with Dr. Eugene. But and we went to Haiti, in, I believe it was January 16, and all of these people showed up. And we kind of pitched our little dog and pony show, and we would have our meetings in the morning, and we would go out and visit microcredit communities and see wells and things in the afternoon. Well, come time the end of the week, people were saying, well, where do we sign up? Who do I give my check to? And I'm thinking, okay, we didn't think about that part.
We didn't think they'd say yes so
But, you know,
quickly.
You got inspired
we were
immediately.
so surprised. And I thought, okay, I got to figure this out. So, of course, I go home and I talk to my husband. And he says, you need a nonprofit.
Yeah, you got to do
You
this
can't
fast.
run these checks
No.
through the church or any other place. You need a nonprofit. So that's where Partners for New Hope was born. And like I said, it funds the Cap Haitian Ministry Center and all those ministries, as well as it does the fundraising for the operations of New Hope Hospital.
So-
And
I have a question.
Sure.
So before we move forward, some of our guests might not understand microcredit and how that particularly helps our Haitian neighbors. Can you explain that connection for
Sure.
us?
We make microcredit loans to, but only women in Haiti. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And we start out with a $200 loan. And when Mary Lou and I would go into these communities and make these loans, Mary Lou was the banker. And we would always, she would do her part, and then I would come in. Mary Lou is very banker-like. She would say, "This is not this is not charity. This is a loan. You have to pay it back."
Yeah.
And then I would come in and make them feel good.
Little good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. And but we set them up on a payment plan, and we would take part of their money and hold it back for the next loan. And at the time we had gotten up, before COVID, we had gotten up to over 400 loans to women in only rural communities where there were no banks and there was no, they had no option for this. They learned through this program to buy wholesale and sell retail, which they'd never had the money to do that.
Yeah.
So it made a big difference in their lives. And we got very close to these women, and it was amazing. One time I was there with one of our pastors, and Mary Lou was going through her speech and talking, and I said, just hang on. I said, she's getting ready to ask them a question. I want you to hear this. And so the question is always, how has this loan changed your life? Always, without fail. I can now feed my children one meal a day and educate my daughters.
Wow.
And if that doesn't change how you feel, nothing will. We can't possibly understand that. We can't possibly. The first time I went to Haiti, I, like everybody else, I woke up that first morning and I was just aghast at what I saw. But as the week went on, I began to see people living normal lives. they were doing the same things we did. They got their children up. They got them dressed. They went to work. They
They're
were
happy.
surviving.
Yeah.
They were not just happy. They were joyous. Haitian people have more joy than anybody I really have ever been associated with.
I love that.
And I wonder, and I ask myself all the time, could that be me? I don't know. I don't know. I have not had that hardship in my life. I have a lot of reasons to be happy and joyous.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder where theirs comes from. But it's inner.
It's one of those things that the Bible says when we're like, I don't understand how that works, but we know it does.
But we
We're
know
saying
it does.
Those who
That's
have the
right.
least seem to find the most
That's
joy, and we're like,
exactly
that can't be
right.
possible. Then we see it, and we're like, huh,
Yeah, and
looky there.
yeah, and people would say to me all the time, "Why do you do what you do?" I don't understand. You're never going to change Haiti. And I'd say, no, I don't. I know I'm never going to really change anything, but I can tell you, when I'm in those microcredit communities and I hear those women say that, or when we're at a well and we see children pumping that clean water for the first time, that they used to have to walk somewhere between 10 and 20 miles to get a bucket of water. And we've built a well in their community. And you see that joy, and I said, it just takes that one person that makes it for me. That's all I need, is to see that one person whose life is changed by what we are doing. So, but I met Dr. Eugene in 2011, and then in 2016, when he built the hospital, which, let me say, none of us ever thought would happen.
Never thought it would
Never.
happen.
He started in about 2012 with this vision, telling us he was going to do it, and we said, yeah, right, okay. We'll see how that goes. So we would go, Mary Lou and I started going after probably in about 2012, about 3 times a year. And then Brian Mateer came to Providence, and we started taking Brian with us. And we watched this progress. So we were there in May of 2016 and in July of 2016. And Dr. Eugene said, when he took us to the airport, he said, now remember, come back in October for the opening of the hospital. We were sitting in the airport, and I looked at Mary Lou and Brian. I said, I don't think we're going to buy our ticket yet. But we were there.
Fantastic.
We were there in 2016 when he opened that hospital.
That's awesome.
It was a dream. It was a vision. It was a miracle that none of us could see. Only he saw it, and
awesome.
only he made it happen.
Few people can really manifest their dreams like that.
He had a unique ability to convey his vision and his dream to people, and draw people in to help him. His command of the English language and the way he used it to talk to people and share his vision was just incredible. And he didn't just do this with our group of people. I mean, I've had the privilege since 2016 of working with people all over the United States that know Dr. Eugene. I have met people from coast to coast, from New Jersey to Florida, everywhere that work with Dr. Eugene. And it's been my privilege to work with them and get to know them too. And they all felt the same way. They all wanted to do everything they could to help him. And he became my best friend, a part of my family. We spoke through Messenger in different ways nearly every day about something. And I've said before, we had hard conversations. We had laughter. But at the end of every conversation, he always said, "I love you, my friend." And that's how we ended every conversation that we had.
He was very good with social media and connecting that way and getting his message out that way in a way that was probably just beginning in Haiti. And I think that really helped him in his work and bringing people to his work.
Dynamic person.
He was so funny though. I mean, we would travel around the states sometimes when he would come, and we would go places, and he would be talking, and everybody knew him. They knew while he was there. Me, not so much. So finally, they would say, And who are you? Who is this? And he would say, oh, that's my mom. Don't you see that we look a lot alike? and they would look at us and say, actually, I do, yes. And that's how he always introduced me, is Mom Wanda, and Dad Bill. So you know the relationship that we had with him.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, we
have one more guest here.
Yeah, we're
going to give Wanda just a second as she take a breath with the loss here. But I'd like to hear from you. Introduce Wayner.
Yeah, we want to hear from Wayner as well.
Well, I'm Wayner Dickert. Most people know me as Wayner, including the bishop and his lovely wife, Pam. And in fact, how I got to know Dr. Eugene was we had started this riverside ministry at the Nantahala River called River of Life. And it just felt like such a gift. I mean, of all the places that you felt like you couldn't have a ministry, that was one of the places that it would be. And so I had proposed that to the president of Nantahala Outdoor Center. I says, hey, what if we started a ministry? And of course, that's one of those rhetorical questions, right? Because you know the answer is like, well, no, we can't really do that. But he says, yeah, what do you need? And I was like, oh my goodness. So, all right, let's do this thing. And so we started this Riverside ministry, and it was just felt like such a gift. And at our first service, I remember one of the folks came up to us and said, you know, being good church folks, they tried to hand me money, and I was like, oh no, we don't need money. You know, we're you know, it's all good. God's good, and God's got this. And they're like, no, here, take the money anyway, right? Because it's not church if you don't give somebody money. And so anyway, then we're like, okay, what do we do with this? And through prayer, we listened to God's voice. And it felt like God was just telling us, hey, this was a gift that's been given to you. Why not take this money and use it as a gift to give water resources to people around the world? And so we did that for several years, and we always kind of, and we didn't, you know, we had a few $100s that we would put towards water resources and every year. And so we would always look in the catalogs and say, oh man, wouldn't it be great to have a community well, to sponsor a community well. And we would see they were $8,000, and we thought, man, there's no way a bunch of dirtbag boaters are going to be able to afford an $8,000 well, community well. Anyway, I was introduced to Pam Carter, and she introduced me to Dr. Eugene, not personally, but told me about Dr. Eugene, the ministry that he had, and that we could get a couple of community wells. Or we could get a community well for $2,000, and we thought, hey, we can do this. And so everybody got so excited at River of Life that we raised enough money for 2 wells that first year. And then the conference missions committee matched us with another well. So we were able to put in 3 wells that first year, and we just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so it just so happens that Pam and Wanda and Mary Lou had a trip to Haiti that winter, and said, hey, come along with us, and you can see some of the wells that you have paid for. And I remember on that first trip going with everybody and riding around and seeing. I got to see the small credit loan program that Providence had done. That was phenomenal. And see some other school programs they were helping with, some other. I got to see Dr. Eugene serving in the small little medical facilities around in these little tin shacks, you know, in every little small town imaginable. And so then we finally ended up going up to Don Don, where one of our wells was. And I remember Dr. Eugene, saying, hey, come over here. And they gathered the whole community up. So the whole community is gathered around the well, and we're feeling pretty good about it, and they're pretty excited about it, and so Dr. Eugene says, hey, go stand with your hand under the well, under the spout of the well, and I'll go back and I'll pump the water. And so I thought, oh, that'll be really cool, so, this would be a great photo sort of thing. And I just remember the first time that water hit my hands as he was pumping it, it just really set me back. I mean, it was then that I realized what this was all meant. And that, like you said earlier, it's like we're not sent to be the hero, to be the savior. I mean, the world's got a savior, right? But, we are able to bless others, but at the same time, we receive this incredible blessing through them. And just the relationships that we developed through Dr. Eugene and Pam and Wanda, and so many others. I know that, there was probably, I don't think I ever went to Haiti. I went on several trips. I either was with Wanda and Pam, or we came across each other on separate trips. But always, whenever I went to Haiti, I got to see them, which was always a blessing too. But Dr. Eugene, he was my brother. I mean, he was just. I remember one time we were going down to look at some wells, and it was when he had just started on the hospital too. And so I went down with a couple other friends from River of Life, and I'm like, Dr. Eugene, what if we didn't stay in a hotel, and is there a place that we can just go camping or set up some, a tarp or, something like that, a hammock in the, back of somebody's yard, and then that way we just take that money and put it towards more wells in Haiti. And so he wasn't having it. Well,
I never said that, Wayner. You're a much better man than I am.
I was never going to sleep in one of those little hammocks you brought with you.
We were all kind of in awe.
Wayner's very outdoorsy.
You were kind of alone there in that.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Eugene made his kids sleep in the same bedroom, and he put us up in his house, and so we stayed with Dr. Eugene at his house, and Ludwin, made dinner and all that. And so we'd come back at the end of the day and all sit around and have dinner together. And it was an amazing time. I mean, they were, like Wanda said and Pam has said, they're family. I mean, they're family. And I love them all like families.
Dr. Eugene was here visiting, and so we passed him off. Bill drove him to Morganton to a McDonald's or something, and Wayner picked him up. Do you remember this, Wayner?
Oh, yeah.
And he went to Bryson City and did an interview with Wayner and everything. And so then he came back to Charlotte, and I said, how was that, Dr. Eugene? He said, Dr. Eugene got to see the Great Smoky Mountains.
Which is funny because Haiti has mountains.
Yeah, he was so excited.
That's
so,
funny.
Wayner, how many wells did you build in Haiti?
So we ended up building over 150 wells in Haiti.
Wow.
And can I just say, like when we were talking early on, Wayner, I just thought, gosh, it'd be great if they dug one well. I mean, sometimes our visions are so small. Like,
Yeah.
I thought Dr. Eugene would never be able to build a hospital, and he did. I thought the microcredit loans would maybe be one community. Our vision can be very small.
Well, people always say, do you go to Haiti to build things? And I said, really? Look at me. Do you think I'm going to build something? I mean, seriously? And I said, no, that's not what they need us for. And I think you said it earlier. We did not do charity work. Mary Lou always explained, this is a loan. This is not a gift.
Exactly.
You pay it back. But we what I described as our ministry is relationship ministry. We went and built relationships with people. And when we would leave a microcredit community, Haitians are so used to people coming and doing something and then leaving.
Never coming back.
Never
That makes them feel good.
That makes them feel good, the people that came. And they never come back. Mary Lou and I particularly, when we would leave a microcredit community, and we would tell them, we have the more privilege than you, but we're mothers and grandmothers. We understand where you're coming from. But we would always say, we will be back.
I love that.
And every time we'd go back, they'd say, "You came back." We said, "We told you we would." And we would tell them, we leave here and our work begins because we go back home and work to raise the money to do this, to be able to make this loan for you to be able to work. So it's that connection and that relationship that formed those heartfelt moments, and we had so many of them. They would always sing for us when we got to the community, and I just remember one time they were singing "How Great Thou Art," and we started singing it in English, and they were singing it in Creole. Those are powerful moments where you know God is in that place with you, making that happen. But times I will never, ever forget.
One thing I kind of hope to offer in this conversation is a reflection that I came to, which is that, we often get asked, why do you go to Haiti? That place is so messed up. It's never going to change. A lot of pessimism. And it's almost like when you talk to people and they're talking like that, they're giving themselves reasons that they're off the hook. And do I think the things I did in Haiti changed things? Well, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it made a difference. Will it make this big, humongous difference? Well, I don't know. I don't know where that'll end. But the thing I think about American mission groups is we're addicted to success. We feel like when we go, there needs to be this hoopla, look what you did. And I'll just say, for me, going to Haiti was a journey. Like, my first experience was, I got to do everything to help change everything.
You're only there a short time. So
there's a little intoxication to like, there's this real need, and I feel like there's some things I can do, right? And slowly but surely you learn, I have to partner with the people that are making a difference for their own people. I have to help, but not in a way that hurts, right?
Yes.
So you have a kind of what I like to call a missional we say we're being sanctified. Well, there's missional sanctification. The more you go, the more you learn, right?
That's right.
But we need to kind of dispel ourselves of thinking, I'll only go if there's some big success story at the end, because that's really about us feeling all.
Is that one of maybe
prideful.
Dr. Eugene's legacies here? If I wanted to kind of turn that conversation to what, with his passing, what is his legacy now? Through y'all, what do you think he has inspired people to become?
I think he taught us how to do mission in Haiti, how to embrace his people and his culture. And I said earlier, sometimes it wasn't easy, but what Pam was saying is one of the lessons we learned through all of this, particularly in microfinance lending, is to listen. They know what they're doing. These women are smart. They know what their business is. In their country, in their culture, we don't. So we learn to listen to them. And that's how we planned our next trip, our next ministry, is what they needed from us. Not what we felt like we could give them, but what they gave us.
The hard thing is not being able to go right now because of the political situation. And I kind of struggle with that because I felt like this might be a time in my life when I would be able to re-engage. And yet, I always said going to Haiti, a person should make. Going to Haiti is a risk because it's not like there's a clinic, fully staffed down the road, or police in case something happens. So I always said you should go and take a reasonable risk where you think I've covered the bases to have a safe experience. But you can't always predict what can go wrong. Right now, I think going would be an unreasonable risk taking.
Puts a lot
and
of
some
pressure
people
on-
like that.
But
They
puts
like
a lot
the
of pressure
thrill,
on some of the Haitians,
little
though, too.
cowboyish.
Well,
In a
does.
bad situation, if they're there to
Right.
protect you and to keep you, it puts a lot of pressure on them. to go
Exactly.
to.
We had that situation.
So then you ask yourself the question, and it's something I feel like we struggle with. How do we continue this relationship and this partnership even though we cannot physically be present and connect with our partners on the ground? And this is where people like Dr. Eugene and the caliber of person he was are so essential and vital to have leaders that are trustworthy, knowledgeable, connected. He was connected to medical people, educational people, rural communities, the Justinian Hospital. He was called the mayor of Justinian Hospital after the earthquake because he would go around and treat the patients and pay for their food. He was just so connected. And I think that's what we saw in Wendy, that
It is.
you kind of have to have your eye out for who are the good partners who can really do the work.
Well, that's that connection and relationship that Wanda saw. The basis for this
And-
stuff are the people.
And,
right?
and the trust that you build in those relationships. And that was something Dr. Eugene and Wendy both offered us, was a trusted partner. I mean, I've never been the least bit skeptical about raising money because I know where that money went. I followed it
Yeah.
to completion. And with his help, we just like these wells, when people would send money for a well, and they would say, well, how will I know it got built? I said, because I promise you. So we would build the well. I would get a receipt from the well drillers, and then Dr. Eugene, the first time we ever showed up and built a well, and we got to the place to look at it, and they're just very simple inertia-driven wells, but they have a concrete base. And he was cleaning it off, and I said, you really don't need to do, oh, yes, yes. Because he wrote our names on the concrete.
Wow.
So every well that is financed or the donation comes in to Partners for New Hope, and the money goes to Haiti to build the well. I get a picture of that well with their name in the concrete that I'm able to give to them.
That's phenomenal.
And the location of that well, so they can pinpoint it. This is my well.
What a small detail.
I know.
For somebody that also builds hospitals. You know,
Exactly.
what a,
But-
Wayner, I see you nodding your head.
Oh.
You want to add? Jump in at any
No.
time.
No, it's absolutely true. I think that Dr. Eugene was just remarkable. I mean, like Wanda was saying, it was super simple. He basically just took a nail and scrawled in there, who sponsored the well or whatever. And so, would always take a picture then and send it, by way of social media. And so, so it was, we could turn around and show people almost immediately, how this, where their money was going, again, that accountability sort of thing.
Applies.
He was super compassionate, and he would bring things to our attention that we might not have thought of. For instance, there was a prison in Cap Haitian, and during political unrest, the prisons don't get funded. The hospitals don't get funded. And so he was aware that there was real hunger issues. And so our Cap Haitian Ministry Center banded together and provided the money. And he went
We fed over. He and Wendy went to the prison and cooked the food. He took the group and cooked the food at the prison. They fed over 900 prisoners. And I got a note from a prisoner when sent his bowl back, he said, "I hope you don't mind, but I saved some because I don't know when I'll eat again." And Wendy sent me a copy of the note.
Did that several times, and that's something we didn't go visit prisons. I'll just be honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, we visited schools, we visited rural communities,
only do- I mean,
clinics.
Right.
You know, but we weren't in the habit of going and visiting prisoners in Haiti. He brought it to our attention. He was just a very compassionate person, and I will say, you can hear the breadth of what he did, and it is unfortunate that the breadth was so large that probably it took all of his energies and ultimately his life. I think he gave himself to death.
He did. He did. Life is hard in Haiti. It's very hard. I learned and worried about him when Dr. Eugene was here in the States after he got shot in Haiti. And I learned a lot of things that, I mean, he had medical issues that he never addressed. He never took the time to address his own well-being. And I was on him all the time. But that life is hard in Haiti, and I think he would have been 53 on July 18th. He died July 4th. And it is. I mean, Haiti has lost, you know, the person that was the most concerned about their health care. I mean, this hospital serves a community that had no health care available. 250,000 people in that community.
Wow.
The Tovar Clinic that he served, when the group goes to Tovar for a week, they see 3,000 people in a week. They go through that clinic. Though, I mean, that's hard to imagine, but we've witnessed it. We know it's true. And he was everything to everybody that knew him.
And there was a price he paid
And there
for
was a
that.
price he
Well,
paid
yeah,
for
there
that. And the price wasn't just his health. The price was he could have come to the United States as a doctor. I mean, when he was
Canada.
here,
And it was
people-
charisma, it sounds like,
right,
and drive.
when he
could've-
was here visiting the hospitals, people would say, "Just tell me when," you know. But no, he would not leave his country. His dedication of his entire life was to his country. His family's dedication was to his mission. I mean, I remember when his children were little, and his daughter wrote me one time, and she said, "Mom, Wanda," she said, "I would like to have a microwave." And she said, "But my daddy uses all our money for the hospital." And I said,
Yeah.
"I can help you."
Yeah.
So I sent him the money for the microwave, and I said, "I want a picture of the microwave."
Don't you go building a well. I want that. I want to see the microwave.
I also remember after the earthquake when patients were flown north to Cap Haitian. Cap Haitian's on the north end of the island, Port-au-Prince, toward the south. And I remember being in communication with him, and he said there's a drug that we desperately need for people who have crush injuries, and I believe the name was Lovenox, and it prevented
It's a blood clot.
clots.
It's a blood clot drug.
And he said, "Please, can you help me?" And somehow, some way, we were able to locate a donation of this. I don't know how that worked, but it worked. And Mark Creaser, who was a Catholic in Charlotte at St. Matthew's,
He was at St. Matthew's, and
wonderful guy,
they
was
have
going
a
to
school
Haiti.
in Haiti.
And he said, if you can give it to Mark Creaser, I will meet him at the airport. And he met Mark Creaser at the airport and went straight to the hospital with the drugs. And he wrote me later and he said, "Madam Pam, you don't know it, but you saved lives today." Well, not me, but all the doctors that were willing to do this thing and get it there. But he was just such a remarkable, remarkable person.
So one time, through a connection that Dr. Eugene had, I got a call from a man in Evansville, Indiana. His son was 6 years old, first grade, and his teacher had given them each $5 to change the world. And Matt said to me, Simon wants to do something for my doctor friend in Haiti, Dr. Eugene. And I said, that's great. And he said, so I contacted Dr. Eugene, and he said, well, we're building a dormitory. So, a $35,000 dormitory, and this young man had $5. And Matt said, could we run the donations through Partners for New Hope? I said, sure. I wrote this story. It's on our website. Along the way, it was amazing to me where God showed up every single time. He raised enough money to match a gift that I had that matched another gift that we had. And then we got some money from a fundraiser in New Jersey, and then we got some money from a nonprofit. And all of these stories connected till we were right down to the end. I think it was $800. And Dr. Eugene was here in Charlotte. He met with a doctor at Atrium Hospital. And once again, she said, and who are you? And I said, I'm the person raising the money.
I'm the chauffeur.
And I'm his chauffeur. And I said, here, she said, well, what kind of things do you raise money for? And I told her the story. And I said, and we're almost there. And the next day, she calls me and she says, how much do you need? I told my husband this story. He said, write them a check. It was God moments all along the way. Please read the story. It's called Simon's Story. It's on our website.
Yeah,
but this was a little boy, Simon Royden, in Evansville, Indiana, who with $5 changed the lives of thousands upon thousands of people.
That's the loaves
in
of fishes
Haiti.
story right there.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. It's the best story ever. So, yeah, I mean, no, it is not all a Simon story, trust me.
I guess it is presumptive to think that they know how to manage
Well,
their money.
Well,
'Cause-
particularly that kind of money.
Yeah.
I mean, they live on $1 a day.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and you give them $200. And in the loans, every time they renewed them, they would get $50, $25 to $50 more. Some of the loans got up to be almost $350. You know, and that, you know, to a Haitian, that's a lot of money.
created
And
anxiety, yeah, sure.
it is, and they weren't all successful. Trust me. You know, we would have to close some of them down because they couldn't manage it. They didn't pay them back. But you know, overall, we had a tremendous payback rate. But it's not all.
Yeah.
And that's important. Is even time. It could sometimes it isn't even our failures. Believe me, and you can still not let that guilt.
Well,
right,
part
right,
of our
stop you.
microcredit. I mean, we grew it too fast. I mean, you know, it was everything was going great.
Yeah.
And you depleted a community of the people that could really manage the loans. So we would do 20 women, then we would do 40 in the same community, then we would do 20 more, till we kind of realized this next group is not. They can't manage it.
Yeah.
That's our fault.
They're
Yeah.
not as capable
We
as those
depleted
that first came.
Yeah.
the pool. And we learned that. So we would pick another community. And, you know, we have had hard lessons. I mean,
That's the value of epic
hard
fail is learning.
lessons.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
only
it's
important.
always- it's always
epic
a
fail only
lesson.
matters if you learn from it. Let me make that clear to everybody listening.
If
You gotta grow.
If you take it and listen
Yes.
and make the changes to make it successful the next time.
Early on, this was our epic fail, and I own this. I was among our friends. I was probably the first one, you know, that went. And early on, I was encouraged to revitalize this school near somewhere we were visiting. Oh, you can do this. I've done it in this community. Your church can handle that. Well, we did pretty good initially, but it became difficult to justify fully funding a school. Some people had the opinion they're so poor they can't afford anything. Well, the more you go to a country, you know, in mission situations, it is important that people have a buy-in
Yeah.
at a commensurate, appropriate level.
Yeah.
So, you know, Brian kind of had to clean up that mess, Brian Mateer. And I own that. And I don't regret doing it except for its effect in that community, that the school had to close. And the school had to close because there became this unhealthy relationship of here's the next thing we need, and here's the next thing we need, and here's the next thing we need. And I don't think we had since left Providence. I was not going regularly. The person that followed me had gone some, but you kind of had to stay on top of something like that.
Like Dr.
And so
Eugene. That's one of the reasons he's always right.
Yeah, and so you could wallow in that failure, or you could pick yourself up and say, okay, Lord, help me to know better, right? Help me to get better at this. Help me to do the things that you want me to do, that these people want to collaborate on, right? You know, it's a learning process. And that's why I say sometimes, especially when you make these international trips, there's so much that you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you find out the hard way. To me, the important thing is to stick with it, to learn, to read, to ask questions, and to try to be sanctified in your missional witness.
Don't be afraid to fail.
I'd like to share a story that was a high. And it's kind of it's somewhat related to Dr. Eugene. When we would visit these communities and they would sing, "How great thou art, how great thou art." So I knew this was kind of a tradition in religious among religious communities, and almost everybody in Haiti's religious, by the way. During the earthquake, I was not injured in any way, and the building I was in, which was the guest house in Haiti, was not compromised. But immediately people from the surrounding neighborhood came to seek help because we were the people that had means, right? So Tom Vincus, I don't know if you've ever heard that name. He was from the New York conference. He was there for the conference that we were attending. And he kind of took charge because he kind of had the UMBIM training and the ERT training and first responder kind of, what do you call it, Red Cross. So you have people coming whose arms are hurt or who have, you know, debris has hit their head. And there was a house next door where the house had collapsed and killed 2 people, and you could visibly see these people. So in the course of those few hours immediately following the earthquake, a woman came to the driveway and asked for help, and she was hysterical, and Tom was trying to help her. But it wasn't clear that anything was really the matter, like physically a wound or something. It was more that she was hysterical. I later found out that her sisters were in the house next door. And so she was clearly out of her mind, just frantic, shaking all over, talking and talking and talking. And finally Tom says, "Can you please stay with this lady right now while I go and tend to people who have physical, you know, wounds," right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like holding her hand. I mean, she grabs my hand and it's like the death grip, and I'm like, she's babbling, and I'm thinking, how can I help this woman? You know, like, I don't speak her language. You know, what am I going to do? And I just began to pray, Lord, help me. And in that moment, I thought, if I sing How Great Thou Art, she is going to know that song. And I will just say, I have never been in Haiti when I felt so vulnerable and that God answered a prayer so well. So I know Tom probably didn't know this. He just heard me start singing How Great Thou Art. He probably thought,
she's gone too.
She's gone over the edge too. But as I began to sing How Great Thou Art, she began to cry and she began to calm down. And we could not speak each other's language. But the faith shared in that moment was a gift from God to connect us. And I just think it is amazing how God brings the right people at the right time into your life and makes something so beautiful happen in the worst of moments, in the best of moments. You know, the other thing I will say is that stateside here in the U.S., I've been amazed at how God brought the right people at the right time. Wanda came after me when Ken was assigned to Florida after being elected bishop. I couldn't think of two better people, Wanda and Mary Lou, to kind of carry things on, and it was remarkable. And I kind of feel like we're at that point now again. Like, the school was a failure. And part of the reason that was a failure, I was clergy, and we were going to move. You always kind of have to think, who's going to come in behind me? Who's going to be the banner bearer? Who's going to
Make this their passion.
Right. And it does go episodic in churches, something like that. So Wanda has been that at Providence and has carried it forward, and I know she's looking at that in the future herself.
But when you talk about the school was really not an epic failure. What we learned from that, we learned we couldn't manage something that big from here. And one church could not manage that big of operation financially.
Yeah.
It grew and it grew and it grew because the needs were never ending.
Yeah.
So we learned. That led us to think we need to be partnering with other people.
Yeah.
That led us to the Cap Haitian Ministry Center,
Exactly.
where we now do education projects together. We've learned that if we can educate one person, an older person, to go to college or to nursing school, that person is the one that will go back into that community and change their lives and change their country. That's not our responsibility.
Yeah. It's growing pains.
That's right. And we've learned to sponsor school children with scholarship money to go to school as opposed to running a school.
Yeah.
There's schools there.
Yeah.
We can do feeding programs in that school. We can do scholarships for those kids to go to school. So, epic fail, no.
That's how you fail, folks.
You fail
Let me
forward.
tell you, that's
Fail
forward.
upwards.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is failing upwards.
And that is what we did. We
Yeah.
learned. These
Love
are
it.
the lessons that we've learned over the many,
I want
many years.
somebody to write a book about missional sanctification because it is such a journey to connect to a place and see. I can look back and see myself and see how far we've come and realize there is growth there.
I love that.
It's important.
So for all you listeners out there, Wayner, do you want to share a story of a
Before we
epic
dream,
failure
we're going
or
to dream about the future.
strangely warming or any stories you want to share?
Well, I guess I've gotten to share everything maybe, but my epic failure. And it kind of plays right into what other people were saying too, is that Dr. Eugene, when we first started working with him, he was doing a lot of work with people who, when hurricanes came through, to try to get them drinking water and ways to kind of clean up after hurricanes. But a big part of that was drinking water. And so one of the things that we did was buckets, these purification buckets. And that was not only during hurricanes, but in other situations too. And so I thought, especially around the hurricanes or in these big times of critical events, wouldn't it be great if there was a way that they could bring a water truck in to provide fresh water to people? They just bring their pots or buckets or jugs or whatever by and get their water, and they could just fill it up at the water truck. And so I came up with this, it was a water filtration system that basically you put it in the back of a pickup truck, and then he had a pickup truck that he would drive to these places. So then if he had somebody with him, then they could just operate that. And I was like, this is like the best idea ever. And he was going to love it. And I was back down there a couple of years later, and it was sitting out in his backyard, just kind of like looking ratty and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, Dr. Eugene, did you ever really use that? He goes, no, we never figured out how to use it. And I felt so bad. But yeah, so just went back to doing what he knew worked, and so that was my epic failure. You got to listen to the people that are on on the ground. So anyway, it was kind of amusing.
I remember Dr. Eugene dealing with cholera, and that was a big problem after the earthquake. I mean, a huge problem. And he would go to community after community and try to educate them to help them avoid contracting it and
So
There's no
treating
plumbing. There's
and-
no anything for a
the
while.
Right.
soap that we bought and the
Oh,
aqua tabs and I mean just trying
Anything.
to
Yeah.
save lives.
Wayne,
How do you?
Wayner?
I just remember this one time where he was taking us out, and I think it was Tovar, and the he had we joined up with we'd seen the school there. We went out to the river. We met the local school principal, who was basically the town mayor in many of these small Haitian towns. That's kind of the way that it works. And so we were kind of looking at maybe some potential places to put a well or something like that. And as we walked out towards he was taking us out to the river to show where people got their water from. And so we were walking down the river, and we passed this one little girl who, had her little bucket. She had a Disney princess T-shirt on. She was like the cutest thing ever. And her bucket was almost as big as she was. And she was on her way to fill up the bucket, and we go over, and we're in this little area where we're overlooking the river, and then you can see people down there where they're getting their water. They're washing their clothes. They're bathing. The caballero is the cowboy's riding his horse across the stream. Doing what horses do, and it's just like you just see that, and he's going, yeah, we're struggling. So many people here have died from cholera and dysentery, and I just looked at all this and I went, buddy, how many wells do you want? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And
Yeah.
I've said to people so often, I said, when we can go to Haiti, it's not really when they need us because things are good.
or
I
better.
mean,
at
we
least.
went
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I mean, we had situations where we were probably not safe, but I always felt like they protected us. I mean, I really did, because it wasn't about us. It wasn't about. I mean, desperation makes people do desperate
Yes.
things, and when you're hungry, when you're not being heard,
And your children are
your
hungry.
children are hungry, when you have no money, no jobs, no future,
No hope.
no hope, desperation makes people do things that they never intended to hurt us.
Yeah.
But I've said to people so often, when we went, I mean, sometimes I went 3 times a year, and I never felt like I wasn't safe or wasn't protected. But those were good times.
Yeah.
I mean, we traveled all over that country, and now is when they need us the most, when we can't be there,
Yeah.
because we can't be there to reassure them that we'll come back. I don't know. I can't say that again, but I do know one thing. I can do everything I can do from here
Yeah.
to help them.
Yeah.
Let them know they're not alone.
And part of that is
Yeah.
finding people to help us.
Finding people
that
to
work,
give and
you know,
finding
and
people
The
to
loss of somebody like Eugene
to,
is such
to
a
read the
pivotal-
story. I mean, there's a video on the website of
Yeah.
him
We'll
and
post-
his vision.
We'll post all
And
that in the show notes.
if you don't watch that and think, I could do something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the amount. It's not that.
because you don't know what it's gonna.
Yeah.
No, you don't know. A small amount of money can buy medicine or feed a patient
Or it
feed
can
a
inspire
child.
others.
Can
Like the
inspire
story y'all told,
other
that's right.
people.
And Helene was the same way.
It sure was.
This church did amazing things, Myers Park, okay? Proud of that, right? I'm equally as proud of Jonathan Coppage Henley down at Woodlawn, who was busting it, right? Or Emma Sherrill you know, who they had a barbecue and raised, I don't know,
Yeah.
50,000 or 35,000. I mean, that was a big deal for that church. They're a little church. So, you know, we have such a skewed way of looking at value
Yeah, we do.
and things. And, you know, I wonder sometimes if our whole thing about, well, what did you really accomplish? That won't be what God will be saying in the end. He will be saying, you went. Nobody else would go, and you went.
Amen.
Where was your heart?
Like,
Amen.
you know, I think about like Mother Teresa, like she didn't change in India, but boy, she changed a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think we
Yeah.
have a weird
And
addiction to being the deal and things.
I just had this conversation with somebody about fundraising, and we feel like if we don't raise a certain amount, it's
That's
not
not
worth
worth it. Yeah.
And if we do a fundraiser one year and we do it again the next year, if we don't raise as much as we did the last year, we're a failure.
We failure. Yeah.
And I say to people all the time, please don't go there. We started with zero.
Yeah.
Every year we reset. Anything we raise this year is not
above
based
zero.
on last year. It's above zero.
It's above zero.
And
We
and
do
that's
have a strange kind of
we
American
do.
obsession with
Like,
it's
Upward.
upward always.
yes, every
It's-
year
that's-
has to be more. No, it doesn't.
It's not how anything works. Everything works.
No.
But you know, we worship a God that was crucified. That wasn't an upward
That's right.
trajectory. in
That's
that
right.
way,
No, there was a
right?
death.
You know,
Yeah.
like
There
there
was
was
a-
the
and there was
resurrection.
a
Don't get me
resurrection.
wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like
there
I
was
think
a-
there was-
sometimes, like you know,
3 days
Jesus
of
was
the
doing
downward
all this work, and like nothing was changing then.
Yeah.
Nothing was changed. I mean, yes,
No, I
things
hear
were
you, though.
changing.
Things were
changing.
But
No, you're
big
right.
picture,
Wasn't until.
And it's
That's
the same way with us. Like we don't get to see that spiritual change.
yeah, you're in a
that's
church, and
Yeah.
it seems like okay,
Yeah.
That's right. But
And
just do it. You don't know.
Something you did.
Faithful.
Maybe
Be faithful.
10 years. You'll
And
be
little.
gone to another
Yeah,
church somewhere.
exactly.
You don't know the impact.
Exactly.
That's what we said about educating one person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know.
Yeah.
That nurse that one young girl we sent through nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know how many communities she's going to go into and offer health care and train other people.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. The day Dr. Eugene passed away, my phone would just, it was July 4th, and it just wouldn't stop ringing. I mean, people were calling from what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Is the hospital going to shut down? And I said, just let's take a breath. And I wrote this to our partners. Just like here, when someone dies, there's so much that has to be decided, so many legal issues, so many transfers, so many everything, particularly when it's so unexpected and so young. And I said, we've got to give them time. We're going to carry on as usual. In my world, it's business as usual. Because I know that's what he would want me to do. But also, it is the right thing to do. That hospital is there now. It is operating every day. They just had an eye clinic that's come for 10 years or more, and they came back. They didn't stop coming because Dr. Eugene passed away.
That's wonderful.
There's a doctor that's been working there for maybe 10 years, Dr. Eugene Maklin, and he is the administrator of the hospital, and I'm forming a relationship with him. Dr. Eugene's wife has stepped up and is helping with a lot of the administration duties. They just won an award from the health community in Haiti, of the whole country.
Wow.
The #1 leading provider for women's cervical cancer care.
Wow.
This week,
That's amazing.
that happened.
And for our
That
listeners,
last week.
for our listeners, today, time of recording is September 29th, 2025.
Exactly. And he had these things in motion. There was he depended on USAID help for AIDS patients. He had over 300 that he would go out remotely and treat with medication that he got from USAID. Well, that was cut off. Just one day it wasn't there anymore.
Wow.
And I remember he just had so much angst about that. And what am I going to do, Mom? What are we going to do? And I said, we'll find a way. Well, he found a way. But he passed away before he got it finished. They finished that. They have been contacting these people, and it looks like it's going to be possible that they're going to find another provider for that.
Phenomenal.
So it didn't.
The dream didn't die.
The dream didn't die.
I love that.
No, the vision didn't die. And my hope and prayer is that people will continue to support this in ways maybe more than they have, because we don't have his voice. We don't have all the connections that he had, but we do have what he left us.
He's not going to carry you anymore.
You know?
Now it's time to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now it's our time to honor him by making sure that this legacy continues. And I just ask people all the time, please continue to support us. Please help us find new people to support us. Spread his story. Go on our website and read about him, because the last thing that we want to happen is this legacy does not live on. That is the best way to help Haiti. It's the best. People in Haiti are not going to just miraculously get better because Dr. Eugene's not there anymore. They're going to miraculously get worse unless we do something.
Amen to that.
And that's my hope and prayer, is that we can continue to do this work and honor his legacy for his wife and his children and his mother and the people that live on in Haiti, through him. Through him.
Wanda, would you tell people the website address?
Yes, it's partnersfornewhope.org, and it's partners number 4,
Okay.
newhope.org.
And we'll list all of the
Yeah,
stuff
I'll
you
read the
mentioned in show notes
information,
as
and
well.
you can list
Thank you.
all of that. And
Yeah.
we have ways on the website to donate. We do, monthly donations, and so I just, that's my prayer every night is, please, God, help us carry on this legacy.
Well, when Jesus died, 1 became 12.
Yeah.
12 became.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Any other
Dreaming,
rumors?
our connection, future for the church in Haiti.
Well, I'm having a significant birthday. It is a factor as you age, your energies diminish, and you may be wiser, but you don't have the energies you once did. I anticipate a time I won't go to Haiti again. It may already be now, given the political situation. I know Wanda thinks about this. It's kind of a little bit heartbreaking.
You never know. You're right.
But I also believe, as a person of faith, that God raises up leaders to bring to work. God is always working in the mission before we lay our hands to it. So I guess I want to live by faith that the right people will come to this work, and that in this current political situation, we can find ways to be partners that we haven't before. Before it was we would visit at least once or twice a year, at least. And, there would be this continuing collaborative situation which involved these visits. Now that can't be the case, at least for now. So I guess I just want to live by faith that this work will continue as God sees fit, and the right people will be brought to it. There are churches in Florida. There are churches in Alabama. There are at least 2 or 3 churches here in Charlotte. River of Life was involved.
Virginia.
Countless people who were involved in supporting the hospital. Countless, all over the nation. So I'm going to live by faith on this one, John.
Yeah, hey, that's
And-
where we live.
And I want to live by faith that as a people, we can, not people, not here in Charlotte, not Partners for New Hope, people, a country, a world, that we can recognize that they don't deserve this.
What did the late Pope
Absolutely.
Francis say? That you pray for people and then you go feed them? That's how prayer works?
Exactly.
That's how faith works?
Exactly. And that we find a way to, I've never met people more resilient, more joyful, and that have
Isn't that
nothing.
strange?
And
I had the same experience in Honduras that
Yeah.
blew me away.
yeah, and I hope as people of the world,
Mm.
as God's people, we can find a way
I love that.
to help them.
And my prayer too is that your roles continue to evolve as time passes, and as the differing needs that we come up against, that there's always a place for you all to serve as well.
And inspire all us young people.
Exactly.
Well, let me just say the young people will enter this work in new ways.
Yeah.
Thanks to
And
what
that's
you all
good.
have done.
And that's
It's
good.
kind of like COVID. When it happened, everybody was like, how are we ever going to do church again?
Yeah.
And you
And
know
look,
what?
And look,
We're here on a podcast.
Yeah, we're meeting in a church right
Exactly.
now.
Just
And
work with it. Go with
and I
it.
have to say that Brian Mateer has been
Yes.
my.
We couldn't shout out Brian Mateer enough for
No,
the work he does
no.
here, literally in the
I
state,
mean,
the
literally
local,
what
and
he was
in Haiti.
doing, what he is doing. But
yes.
he is my co-director for Partners for New Hope, and I mean, he is my rock. I mean,
love that.
truly my rock.
Brian, if you're listening, go take a vacation.
Please go take a vacation.
But-
You deserve
and
it.
his
Yes.
family. I mean, they are his wife and his 4 daughters have been to Haiti, and they're committed to this ministry.
I love that.
That's a family commitment, and they, like I said, they are
Those
my
are the
rock.
kind of leaders.
Yes,
And inspire
you hope
others.
for.
too.
yes.
Wayner, you want to
exactly.
dream with us? What's
Give me
your
last-
dream
yeah, any
for
final thoughts for Haiti?
Riverside and Haiti?
So now that I am not as direct a part of River of Life, my hope is that it continues to support Haiti like it always has. I know their heart's still in the same place, and many people that are still part of the River of Life ministry have wells with their names scratched in concrete, and it's a beautiful thing. So I have a lot of hope in that, and hopefully I will be able to inspire new people down here in South Carolina. So maybe Brian needs to come down here and brainstorm with Hilton Head. I mean, if he needs to, then that's we do what we can, right?
Set him up.
We'll find our South Carolina Brian.
And can I just pause and say thank you, John and Jesse.
Yes.
When he passed away, there was some talk about having a funeral service here because we obviously couldn't get on a plane in 2 days' time in a very volatile political situation and fly there and go for a memorial service. It's felt a little bit like eulogizing him,
And this,
and that's special.
yeah, this was a way to reach more people that couldn't come to a service here in Charlotte because his scope was just everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And so people that knew him in California, in Indiana, in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, in Florida, in Alabama, and everywhere can watch this and feel a part of us honoring him. All of us. I mean, all of these people that honor him.
Well, thank you for inviting us to be a part of that. Well, we know and we've heard from you the incredible life that Dr. Eugene lived, and the fact that he was much more than a physician, much more than a signer of wells. He was a dreamer who turned so many visions into realities, and a friend who built bridges across languages and cultures, and a man who gave his life so that others might live. He's a proud Haitian, proud physician. His legacy continues in Haiti and in every heart that carries his work forward. This is real life. This is what the gospel calls us to. This is how we change the world. Thank you all for your hands and your hearts in this life-changing work. Thank you so much for sharing your hearts with us today to include us, give us an opportunity to hear the
I
stories.
know, we're the ones that are blessed. It's
Yeah.
like, honestly, as clergy, it's like that moment where somebody passes and you get invited into that family's life for a
Yeah,
moment, and
yeah.
you just soak it in, right? And so really, thank y'all
Yeah.
for telling us about him.
and for inviting us and issuing that call to action for us to. I know a lot of folks are probably going to hear of something that they particularly can do and be a part of, and
Go to the website.
And go to the website. And if it's just a donation, it's not just a donation.
No.
It's so helpful.
Just to learn.
Yeah.
And spread it.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for joining us virtually. Thank you for joining us in person. Thanks to the wonderful folks at Myers Park UMC that allowed us to use the space and this equipment and their time as well, setting everything up. And thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you for always supporting us and to listening. And please share this episode so that this story can continue to transcend anything that we can do here, and continue to motivate others and to inspire others to create that true relationship that is needed for our mission to continue. And I think we found a wonderful title for this episode. Can you say that again? It's our mission sanctification.
Missional sanctification.
Missional sanctification.
The sanctification of our missional life.
I love that. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for your time.